Hello and welcome to JDJ Dents Ads. What the hell am I playing today? We're going to look at another Atari game, Encounter. This game was released as a multi-platform game in 1983. To get to grips with this game I have to go into some quite exciting detail. So brace yourself for a roller coaster of a time, guys. The only way I can define this game is by describing it as a first-person pseudo-driving simulation, with shooting of course. The playfield, or arena, is that of a wrap-around world with fixed pinball-like pillars that are dotted around the landscape. This makes reversing tricky, as the pillars often obstruct your path and can cause you to be killed by the enemy. So on to the reason you're in the game. You are tasked with fighting what can only be called crystalline entities. Alternative names could be UFOs or alien ships. Appearing from their own wormholes or time portals. They are almost always moving and dodging from the get-go, weaving about as they scope you out. The all but one of these diamond things make a purring bleeping sound. They vary in color and shape. Some shoot low volumes of projectiles, and others are fast and furious. The objects they fire seem to be some kind of energy balls. These can be dodged if you have sufficient distance from the UFO that's firing at you, or reversing. But those pesky pillars can catch you out, and that's a real annoyance. Aside from the different colors and shaped UFOs, there's a self-destructing one, a mega shooter, a static never-ending shooter, and others that are just plain miserable to deal with. When you finally get to kill one of them, they shatter like glass. A nice touch as they darken as they break. Also when they die, their bullets darken. If that wasn't hard enough, that's what she said. Getting from one level to another isn't just a matter of just waiting for it to load. Oh no, brother. When you kill the last of the UFOs, a portal opens up, rather like the one that the UFOs use to enter the level. A loud siren-like sound is heard and you can either enter or stay on the level. If you do enter the yawning darkness, the door closes and you are thrust into a first-person asteroid situation. The noise changes to a roaring, then a high ominous tone, as the luminescent balls shoot at you at 100 miles per hour. When you arrive at the end after the balls have stopped shooting at you, a portal opens. You can either exit to the next level or continue on to the next one. If you do go on, the balls get significantly faster, increasing the chance that you will fail. But if you do and you crash into the balls, you'll go right back to the level you just came from, forfeiting the level you passed up. Upon entering the next level, the landscape has changed, almost like level 1 was morning in a grassy field. Then level 2 is midday in a desert. The pillars are a different color and the sky is lighter. As you progress, the UFOs become faster and meaner, shooting ever more volleys of energy balls. Also, as you go along, occasionally a rocket comes out of nowhere. On the control panel below the playing field, a pink indicator lights up. This denotes a rocket is incoming. Usually it comes from straight up ahead, but occasionally it comes from behind and you can do nothing to avoid it. Just a note on the radar and lights that surround it. The orange, meaning a UFO is here. Blue is UFO firing. Pink is rocket incoming. The radar is useful to point out where the UFOs or the rocket is coming from. In later levels, if you can get past the time corridors full of ever faster asteroids, the UFOs become sinister and malevolent. There's one that just shoots all the time. It's not a diamond like the majority of UFOs but a square with its corners cut off. However you face it, it always faces you. A tactic of almost going right up to it then reversing and firing usually kills it. There's a stealth UFO, making a one-tone purring, and it never stops moving, as it shoots a tricky curveball at you. The kamikaze lozenge that avoids you so it can detonate is a clever addition to the just chase it formula. The game, if you are ever able to complete it, I recommend the novice difficulty. It just starts again but even faster and more unfair than before. What can I say about this game? It's a very well realized, well thought out, early pseudo 3D shooter, although there is a contemporary Commodore 64 version, also Atari ST, and Amiga versions that appeared many years later. The Atari 8-bit version had a certain X factor. There's something that, let's say, the C64 version lacks. But don't let it be said I'm a Commodore basher. But at the time the Atari 8-bit range had serious scrolling hardware advantages. Also, not to put the Commodore 64 fancier's noses out of joint, but J Minor that later worked on the later Lorraine project that eventually became the Amiga. He was brought in by Atari in the late 70s to design the Atari 400 and 800 models. As a result, you could say the Atari 8-bit micros were a kind of 8-bit prototype of the yet-to-be-born Amiga, using the machine's 128 or 256 color palettes. It was a superior machine in the hands of an experienced programmer, and as such it shows in this game, as to what the machine was capable of at the time. So that was Encounter, made in 1983, some 38 years ago. I think it has stood up well over the decades, a fine example of its rather niche genre. Well, that's about it for this game, a unique and challenging game that delivers on the title, Encounter. It certainly is. I'd recommend it to anyone, even if you're not an Atari fan. There's many more hidden gems out there, and I'd love to bring them to your attention, but all good things must come to an end, and so must I. I have to go now. I have many Atari games to play and to review, so until next time, bye.